I'm Sebastian Salazar. Great to have you with us here on ESPN+. In just a little bit, we'll hear from Shaka Hislop, Jan Fjorthoff as well. But Craig, let's start with the news of the day, or at least one bit of news of the day. Kalvin Phillips, the 26-year-old English international, looks like he's ready to make the move from Leeds to Manchester City for a reported fee of £42 million. He's been with Leeds since he made his first team debut with the club back in 2015. For more perspective on this move, we're going to welcome into the show the aforementioned Jan Fjorthoff. But Craig, I want to start with you. From the Manchester City perspective, this the right move?
I think this would be good business. Like a lot of people, I'm a big fan of this guy. He had an injury-ravaged season, but he's a regular international footballer now. He has got a lot of Premier League experience. He's very dynamic, can play multiple positions across the middle of the park, or he can go into the back line, passes the ball well. Not as well as some of the City players, so that's going to be an up in the standard for him. But bearing in mind that Fernandinho's gone, you know, you've got Rodri there, who I think is a terrific player, and I don't think Kalvin Phillips walks straight into the team for me, because I think Rodri's a terrific player. But when you think about it, they've had Rodri and Fernandinho, so they've been able to balance it. They haven't often played with two more defensive midfielders, but sometimes they have. But you've got to have cover, haven't you? You've got to have alternatives, and I think this is a great move because he's one of England's best talents.
Yeah, and Craig mentions Fernandinho moving on then, but of course Rodri's still very much in the mix for Manchester City. Is this how you would have strengthened the City squad with this move?
Well, I think Craig analyzes well, but I want to add the English part of it. I mean, the three big signings he's done is Grealish, Haaland, and Phillips. Two of them English, and I think that is important also for Manchester City to show that. But I think this is a matter of great business. Phillips, his dynamic is enormous. He's got I don't know if it's an English phrase, he got a contagious way of playing football, because when you see him play, he wants to get the players around him doing that as well. And you can see that Pep Guardiola now is on a mission. He changes a bit in and around the team, getting new kind of skills in there. And in this mad world of fees all over the place, I think 42 million sounds like quite good business, as bizarre as it might sound. So I think that this is great for Manchester City, and they're absolutely strengthening themselves. And I think it's interesting to see how Liverpool, Manchester City, so narrow, of course, last season, kind of mirror themselves in the way they're signing players. It's quite interesting.
Jan, why English? You said Manchester City need English players. Why?
I think it's important when you have foreign owners, you have a foreign coach, mostly foreign players. I think it's important to have a core of good English players in your team, because we should never forget that Manchester City is an English club, and we have to stick to that. And they're playing in the English Premier League, and maybe call me old-fashioned, but I think there should be some English. I came to England in 1993. I was a guest at TV programs telling about how to be a foreigner in English football. Now it's all different. So I think that it's so important that Manchester City also have that, because most of the fans in the stadium are also kind of the English fans going in there. So I think that is important, and I don't think that should be underestimated.
What about the player perspective here? You said you don't see him walking into the 11. It's a World Cup year. There's months till the tournament. That could be a concern.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I think it will be a big grind for this lad to leave Leeds, his home club. But you know, maybe Bernardo Silva gets this move to Barcelona that he seems to want, but then they're completely different players. Obviously, you know, Silva can't do what Phillips does, and Phillips can't do what Silva does. That was a kind of generic midfield for them last year. If Silva doesn't go, and some people, I've seen some criticism of Rodri, and of course every player's up for criticism, but I really think he does a terrific job there. A lot of people think he slows it down. He does. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I really do.
What about the idea of playing them both together and kind of changing what City do? Well, I don't
think they need to do that in the Premier League so much. And I think recent history would tell you that themselves in Liverpool have sort of bullied a lot of the teams. They haven't needed two more defensive midfielders. But as we know, the Champions League, this sort of noose around the neck, if for want of a better phrase. And again this year, 2-0 up or whatever. I can't remember the scoreline, but 2 goals up.
That's where they need it.
In the Bernabeu. Maybe there's a change of thinking for Pep Guardiola. And, you know, Jan mentioned the English, and look, it's not the most important thing, but I think it just shows you where kind of the English players are at the moment. Some of them, he tried to sign Kane, he signed Grealish, he's got Foden, he's got Stones, he's got Walker, and now we're talking Kalvin Phillips as well. So I think it kind of tells you where the English national team is that, or should be, is that a lot of these guys and managers are not just looking abroad straight away, wherein a few years ago, a lot of them wouldn't have touched many of the English players. So yeah, I think this would be really, really good business for Man City.
Go on, Jan.
I think that is a very good point, because I think that is also a compliment to Gareth Southgate. You have to give him that he has made a good English team. And it's also good news for Gareth Southgate that Kalvin Phillips, as Craig was saying, he is at this moment, he's not up there with the passing qualities there is in a Pep Guardiola team. But you know, he goes to the big master. He will learn so much from Pep Guardiola. We can criticize him for this and that, but he's a fantastic coach, and he will improve Phillips. No disrespect to Jesse Marsh, no disrespect to Bielsa. We've all seen the heart that Phillips have had for Leeds United, but he will improve as a football player going to Manchester City.
So Manchester City then set to spend some big cash to bring in Kalvin Phillips. They're going to get some cash in as well, because it looks like the deal for Gabriel Jesus to move to Arsenal has been agreed upon between the two clubs. Looks like they still need to come to personal terms with Gabriel Jesus, as the Brazilian is set to move from Manchester City to Arsenal. Craig, from a City perspective, let's start there first. How much do you think they'll miss him? He played in some, if you look back at the games he played in, he seemed to play in all the big games for Pep.
Yeah, in a wider position. I think they can afford to lose him. Mm-hmm. I talked on this show a few days ago. You know, as good as he's been, he spent a lot of time on the bench, has come on and scored some great goals, has frustrated at times, I have to tell you, and has done a great job in a wider position, thwarting fullbacks and doing that kind of stuff in the Champions League. I think they can afford to lose him with the squad they've got. Bearing in mind, they've brought in Alvarez from South America, and as a young player up and coming, and then obviously needs no introduction, Erling Haaland. So, as I was saying a few days ago, Seb, it's simple mathematics. You just can't keep bringing players in and not letting players go. So you have to let certain players go. Otherwise, you end up with a dressing room of 30 and you're not going to be able to register them all. So, it's a natural evolution, and Jesus has been good for them, but they're going to cope without him.
The reported transfer fee there, you see it, £45 million. Is this the right move then for Arsenal, Jan?
Well, in the markets, it's hard to get especially good strikers, and Jesus is as good as Arsenal can get at the moment. They were talking about they had an alternative to go to Conte, could go to Tottenham, and then he chooses to go to Arsenal. Last week, I had a quite interesting conversation with Martin Ødegaard, who is obviously playing for Arsenal, and he explained me the way Arteta are doing his business, how he's approaching the team. He was very complimentary about Arteta, and I think that he is probably convinced Jesus that this is a good so-called project to be a part of it. The big challenge for Jesus will of course be when you go to Arsenal. It's easier to score goals for Manchester City. You had a team there for Manchester City. I mean, the assist potential in that team is unbelievable. Okay, they have some good midfield players at Arsenal as well, but Jesus got to now show it that he can get the goals also for Arsenal. Going to Tottenham, we would be there up with Son. It will be for Harry Kane, of course. So I think this is a good move for both of them. It's kind of fitted. That's a same. But when he was linked to Arsenal, you thought, yeah, that sounds like a good match.
What's the level of risk here for Arsenal?
Well, they need to get a striker in, as Jan said. Aubameyang gone.
Is he?
Well, he's a striker.
Well,
it's his natural position. I mean, it's like every transfer. I don't know. I don't have the answer. But all I can tell you is, if he doesn't fit in, then it's going to be a problem for Arteta, because you know, we know they have a lot of good youngsters, and we know, you know, Nicolas Pepe from France, big money signing, has really flattered to deceive. And it's been the younger guys, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka in particular, that have carried the weight of the team. But what I would say is, last season, think about it, Arsenal started away as an absolute total shambles, right?
Yeah.
Now, the goalkeeper changed, the back four pretty much changed, they solidified. Nobody expected them to get in to the top four, particularly after the start, and some people were talking about relegation. I think that was just pie in the sky. But they came with a run, and then all of a sudden they were the favourites to get in, and it didn't happen. And he got a few clips around the ears for that, but nothing more, Mikel Arteta. However, now that the back four's in place, the goalkeeper, now that all these youngsters are a year more experienced, now that the potential for one or two big money signings, he can't afford to have an absolute bang average season. Not when Tottenham are in the Champions League, not when Man United have got a new manager, and all these different scenarios. Last year was a little bit of a leeway year for him to some extent. I don't think this year will be. And as one old manager said to me years ago, I don't like signing players for big money, Craig, because that just adds pressure. So, you know, there's two ways to look at it.
Jan, to Craig's point here, is Arteta getting everything he needs to be competitive? Has he run out of excuses next season?
Well, it seems that he's getting the backing from the owners. The problem is that is the balance in the team. I think he need that big number 9-ish, but everybody looks for that guy. The interesting thing with Arteta, if you can't make it with the Arsenal team, when you see 6-7 very good players, you just feel that they won't hang around. I mean, Arsenal know that from their history. They have been losing young players for fun for years, so they have to get in there. So I think Arteta would have a bonus because he's a good kind of management kind of style. He learned his trade by Pep Guardiola, but he has to deliver next season. But I think that it will be exactly like this season. There will be 6-7 teams battling out for the Champions League, or say it the other way, there will be 3-4 teams battling for that fourth position.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.